Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Trend Report. I'm glad you're here today for another installment of our CEO chat series. And I'm really excited to welcome a new friend to the podcast today, someone that I met as a referral from another colleague that said this would be a great guest for your CEO chat. And I'm absolutely honored to welcome Chris Binnendyk, the CEO of 3H, to the podcast. Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing really well, Sid. How are you?
Oh, I am doing great. Thank you, sir. The fall is on its way here, which is a nice reprieve for those of us that live in places like Texas. So we're ready for some cooler weather.
Well, good for you. And I'm talking to you from not so sunny Toronto, Canada today. And it's definitely fall here, rainy, lots of color on the trees. So
Nice.
I hear you. I hear you.
That's all the stuff that we don't get living down in the South. Like we don't get 4 seasons. We get 2 seasons, summer and spring, or summer and winter, basically is what I think. But Chris, I'm really excited to have the opportunity to interview you and learn a little bit more about you and about 3H and kind of what you're doing up there. So for our listeners that maybe don't know you, please take a moment, introduce yourself.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Chris Binnendyk, and I'm honored to be the CEO of 3H Furniture Systems, and we're an Ontario, Canada-based laminate furniture manufacturer, and that's my story, Sid.
So, Chris, you've been in the furniture business a long time. I'm really curious, how did you actually get into the office furniture industry?
Well, there was a family connection, and it was supposed to be a quiet after dinner conversation, and the gentleman in question wondered aloud if I was interested in joining his company, and it turned out to be a fantastic 20-year journey. And as we all know, in the furniture industry, when you invest more than even a couple of years, it's very difficult to get out. I mean, it's very common to hear the Hotel California jokes, isn't it, about our industry?
It is.
Even a brief chapter, it's so specific and frankly, so enjoyable. So it's been a good, at this point, 23-year journey in the industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, what I hear from most people is you either are a second generation or third generation coming into it, or you kind of fell into it. Because it's certainly not something that you see right now on college career day that says, hey, here's a booth, let's go talk about selling office furniture. It doesn't exist that way. So I'm always interested to learn from people about how they actually got into it.
Well, you take a look around NEOCon sometime, and lots of gray hair, or in my case, no hair. And that would be one concern I have for the industry. We need to somehow bring more talented youth into the industry.
Oh, absolutely. And Chris, I'm not going to get on my soapbox about that, but the listeners that are frequent listeners know that recently we had Stephanie Ince, the executive director of Dovetail, on, and we'll link that into the show notes if you'd like to go listen to that again. But organizations like Dovetail, which is a nonprofit in our industry, are absolutely doing things to try to help attract and recruit new and young people to our industry. So I'm excited for that. But I totally agree, Chris. You walk around places like NEOCon, there's way too much gray hair. We need a lot more young people in our industry, much more diversity in our industry to really help our industry continue to grow and thrive, because this is a fun place to work.
It is, and I couldn't agree more. It's not just about youth. Diversity is a key topic.
Oh, absolutely. So, Chris, this is actually really about you and about your journey and what you're doing, and giving our listeners the opportunity to get to know you and 3H a little bit better. Yeah. So let's talk for a second. You've not been the CEO and owner of 3H for very long. So my first question is, and I asked you this in the pre-call that we had, the discovery call we had about this, what possessed you to want to buy a company, a multi-million-dollar manufacturer, in the middle of a worldwide pandemic?
Yeah, I wonder sometimes, Sid, especially early in the year. So I'm 10 months into this amazing adventure. And I left my former company fall of 2019, and I realized very quickly, like literally within a month, that I wanted to jump back in. I love the industry. My contacts, my expertise were certainly all in that world. And I realized as well that I wanted to have a majority stake in a business. And so, as you can imagine, the subset of Ontario, Canada-based manufacturers, office furniture manufacturers, it's not a huge universe. And I consider myself really lucky to have had a contact at 3H that introduced me to the partnership group. And as luck would have it, two of the partners had recently retired and were looking to sell their shares. And I guess parallel to all this, the vaccines had been approved, at least two of them had been approved.
Mhm.
And I profoundly believed it was only a matter of time until we were going to work our way out of the pandemic. And then secondly, I also profoundly believe that work from home, as much as it was going to continue to be a factor, it wouldn't be the dominant factor in the workplace, that people were yearning to get back to the office. So it really, for me, based on what I saw the potential in the company, what I saw the factors leading to a healing of our industry and our economy as a whole, I felt like it was a risk, but it was a calculated risk.
Well, 10 months is still a very short time frame to be in that position. And, the world is continuing to change and evolve. And I do agree with something that you absolutely just said, which was work from home is still going to be here. It's not going away. And I honestly think that people have been working from home for years. It just is actually highlighted now more than it ever was before that people are working from home. I mean, I have not physically worked in an office, like going into an office every day in almost 15 years.
Lucky
So
you.
yeah, no, I don't know. Sometimes I question that, but I have three four-legged coworkers that hang out with me on a pretty regular basis, so they're pretty cool. They don't talk back, which is great, right? But
Awesome.
yeah, so but 10 months, it's a short time frame. Work from home is here to stay. It's being highlighted more so than ever. But Chris, for our listeners that maybe don't know much about 3H, tell us a little bit about what it is that you guys do and what separates you as a company.
So as I said, we are a laminate, both case goods and systems furniture manufacturer. And we make products for a variety of environments, private office, open plan, reception, meeting. And really the core of what sets us apart, and frankly, this is what attracted me to the company in the first place, Sid, as I got to know them, we have a unique and very strong customer service culture. And I know for a fact, many companies use customer service as a buzzword. It's it's a term that's bantered about, and in many cases it's aspirational. But the core of our value proposition comes back to customer service, but done in a way that's very, very human. And that stems from the fact largely that the business is based in Northern Ontario, and the culture of the company, really since inception, almost 50 years ago, was driven around doing what was right for the customer. And so layer on top of that some incredible, innovative, affordable products, and a willingness to adapt our product, which is the third, leg of the stool, as it were. And that's really our overall value proposition. It's those three factors combined, with customer service being at the very core of it, that really set 3H apart.
So thank you for sharing those three components, Chris. And I'd like to dive into just for a second about customer service. And
Yeah.
you mentioned that, and something that you said, I think is very interesting, that most people use customer service as part of their three-legged stool, if you will, but
Yeah.
it's very aspirational. Can you explain that and what you mean by that?
Well, there's all kinds of, what I'll call temptation to be bottom line centric, and whether that's a warranty claim, whether that's expediting a late order. We're all faced, especially as leaders, with financial pressure. We have budgets to hit. And in the moment, and there are many of them through a week, through a month, throughout the year, there's these, what I'll call crossroads type situations. A warranty claim, is it the manufacturer to blame, or is it the dealer, installer, whoever? And we've just done a great job over the years getting to the bottom line really quickly and owning it and sorting it out later. And that's just a small example. It runs much deeper than that. It's the interactions by email, which is mostly email these days, but by phone. It's just it's a perspective that runs through almost every interaction we have with our customers.
So what I really appreciate about what you just said is your focus is on the customer, which is the end user customer.
Yes.
Is let's solve the problem of that our customer is experiencing, and then we'll go back and figure out who's at fault or what happened and what went wrong. You'll deep dive into it. But the most important thing is to solve it for the client on the end that's actually using the furniture so that they have the best experience with everyone involved in the process. Did I say that right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would add our dealers to the equation too. I
Yes.
mean, ultimately, we're in a business to business context, and our relationship with our dealers is paramount. And it's never about just one transaction. It's about creating an annuity, as it were. And if they know they can trust us when the chips are down to do the right thing, we become a good partner, and that helps us compete. And let's face facts: pick a category in our industry. Every category is extremely competitive. Every day, we're at battle, and whatever opportunity we have to stand out, it makes a difference.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can't tell you the number of people that I talk to, Chris, on a regular basis that talk about how competitive the market is today. And I love that you framed it as we're at battle, because you are at battle, but it's more than just pricing. It's also service. It's also the dealer and the relationship the dealer has with the clients, about what the services that the dealer can offer. And all along, again, you solving the problem at the very beginning, your direct customer is the dealer. Their direct customer is the end user. But
Right.
you're both working to solve the problem for the end user. So let's solve the problem for the end user first. And then, Mr. Dealer, we're going to come back and we're going to figure out exactly what happened. And we're going to come together and we'll work this out and we'll make the best decision for everyone involved. But the guy on the person on the front end, which is the customer, let's take care of that person first.
And Sid, back to buying a business in the transaction, that was an area of, how should I call it, philosophical alignment that was really important to me. Mm-hmm. And my time in the industry has really taught me that service offering, the customer service focus, is so instrumental to a manufacturer's success.
Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. So Chris, I'm going to ask you to share something a little for those of us that live in the United States that are not as geographically challenged as me, or those of us that maybe are. Okay. You refer to Northern Ontario.
Yes.
Where the heck are you talking about? Give us a little roadmap here. Where are you?
Okay, so the business 3H is located in a community called New Liskeard, Ontario, which is approximately 5 hours north of Toronto. And so another way of me referring to it, there are approximately a dozen moose crossing signs between Toronto and New Liskeard. And my first journey up there, that's one of the things that just absolutely amazed me. It's like, oh, there's a moose crossing sign and there's another one. And you truly understand where you are. It's just north of an old growth forest called Temagami, which is truly one of the most beautiful places on earth. And it's a magical place. And I really think it's this setting, this Northern Ontario forest setting that really sets the tone for so much of what is good in our business.
That's awesome. So 5 hours north of Toronto, which I had no idea that's where you were. I mean, that to me, like way up there, moose crossings. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's pretty awesome. I remember, sidebar story, my wife and I had the opportunity to go to Australia. She was speaking at a conference there, and they have kangaroo crossing signs.
Yeah.
And so I could literally, you said 12 moose crossing signs between you and Toronto, which I think is great. For those of us that, yeah, we get cow crossing signs down in Texas. So I totally get it.
Yeah. So the rule of thumb, by the way, is you just don't travel at dusk or dawn, because those are the high travel times. And so that's my rule of thumb. If I'm either driving there or driving back, just do it in the middle of the day, and you're generally fine. You don't get to meet a moose.
That's great. So small community, you're likely one of the largest employers in that community. What does it mean being in a small community, and how does that actually impact your business?
That's an important consideration. And frankly, as I got to know both the business and the community, that's what made it so attractive to me. It's a second layer. And we are, in fact, out of the first or second largest employer in the community. We typically compete against the mines for employment. And so there's a integral connection between the two. The well-being of the community depends on us, and vice versa. And so, as we mapped out our 5-year strategic plan, that was one of the priorities that we identified. We're not just trying to grow a business, we're really trying to strengthen an entire community. And it makes it such an incredible and rewarding challenge, Sid. It's not just a random act of capitalism. It's about the well-being of a town of 10,000 people.
That is awesome. And so I would imagine that everybody that works at your organization is pretty well know each other, and they're not just coworkers, they're likely friends outside of the office as well. So how does that impact your team?
Well, it impacts the team in several ways. First of all, as you can imagine, 10,000 people, there isn't a massive talent pool. So we are competing in many respects for the best talent in that area. Although I would say with my involvement in the business now, there's the potential to add a Toronto dynamic major metropolis, within the top 5 largest cities in North America. So that's one of the opportunities as well. But there's I suppose, a civility of communication, because it's not easy come, easy go. Employees are connected to other employees through family connections, their friends, their neighbors. It implies that it can't just be a random interaction. You have to be civil with people, and I think that's one of the things that's contributed to our culture, frankly. And we look out for each other is the other dynamic.
So when you say we look out for each other, can you describe that a little bit? Because I really like that a lot. Because the first thing you led with was communication, and then you used the word humility, and now look out for each other. So what does that mean, we look out for each other?
Well, both in the workplace and on the home front. So a good example, our operations VP also happens to be a very handy person and has been known to help fellow employees, help build their houses or renovate their houses, what have you. If someone's in trouble in terms of their mental well-being, the company and the community are quick to rally around them. And that's what really sets us apart. We're a very tight-knit group, and frankly, that's been one of my challenges as the outsider, to integrate myself into the team, which in a way that's consistent with the company culture.
Yeah, that's great. And Chris, I would assume that you're going up there on a pretty regular basis, because you used to live in Toronto.
Yeah, I'm up there once a month. And we're going to maintain our residence here. We're about to open downtown showroom and office. And then my wife and I bought land in the community, beautiful piece of property. And this is part of the adventure as well, Sid. We've got this incredible property overlooking Lake Temiskaming. And at least once a month, and probably more when the weather gets hot and steamy in Toronto in the summer, we'll go up there and really enjoy the community. So for us, this isn't about just joining a company, it's about joining a community.
Oh, that's great. So Chris, you mentioned you're opening a showroom in Toronto. That's really exciting. Is it the first 3H showroom in Toronto?
It's the second.
Okay.
This will be far larger, I think, in a nicer area of Toronto, an area called King West, which is vibrant shops, restaurants. And when we bring people to Toronto, whether that's training or to show our product in the showroom, it's not only about the showroom experience, it's about the broader experience that our customers have in Toronto. And we're going to be really proud to open this. It's a magnificent space in a really great neighborhood of Toronto.
That's awesome. When does it open, Chris?
We're targeting mid-December. So the idea is the furniture gets moved in, and I'll be out of this beautiful home office, at least part-time, as of January. Okay,
so for all of you listening, I just put the CEO of 3H on the spot, and I wish you could have seen his facial reaction, like, oh no, I got to give a date. And he did the perfect answer, middle of December, so non-committal. I really appreciated, Chris, because your face was like, oh no, a date.
If there was ever a time that the industry, there's a little bit of breathing room, it's between Christmas and New Year's, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You can actually, there's a little bit of time to recover if we get behind schedule.
Absolutely. And it is a great time of year to actually be moving in yourself, because I've worked at many different manufacturers in my career, and in opening showrooms or renovating offices where people work, meaning internal, we always give ourselves the last dibs, and our customers take everything that comes first. And so those showrooms and those things always seem to take the lowest priority on the level, which sometimes makes them harder to complete. So I appreciate that. Mid-December. So Chris, tell me real quickly, how was NEOCon?
Well, NEOCon was, as you know, Sid, it was a very strange NEOCon this year. Our Canadian contingent, of which I'm one, did not travel to the show. We had concerns about crossing the border if anything happened, and I think that's since diminished. So our showroom was managed by our U.S. sales director, and I would say the traffic was a fraction of the normal traffic. But like any show, it takes one or two customers to come in, and the caliber of those interactions can really be powerful. And we really found that was the case. And part of our growth strategy is to improve the caliber of our representation, for example. And there's a number of conversations taking place, and the show is the perfect time to be showing the product and to be looking at options for given markets.
Yeah, so lots of opportunity there, Chris, of quality over quantity. And this year there wasn't a lot of quantity there, but you had quality conversations, both as you strengthen the representation, but also quality conversations with influencers and end users and specifiers that really actually put you potentially in a different place to have quality conversations. Because years before, when it was quantity over quality, you could barely have a conversation because there were so many people coming in and out. This year, even though it was strange, I did not go, but even though it was strange, it still gave you those quality conversations that I think in the past we would have wanted to have.
That was very much the case. And I think for those of us who've been in the industry for a while, we love the adrenaline of NEOCon. Monday morning, walking into the mart, the elevators are packed, new product, all sorts of things happening in the industry. So this year was subdued, but as you said, perfect setting to have meaningful conversations.
Well, as things continue to improve in the world and borders get opened up and things of that nature, vaccines gets more widespread and things of that nature, I think there's a lot of anticipation building until June of 2020, when hopefully it comes back even bigger and stronger and more semblance to what it was in 2019.
We're very excited, Sid. So we introduced a product at NEOCon this year, a product called Hookup, and we're hard at work for the introduction next year. And for basically every company in the industry, NEOCon serves as a major milestone in our new product development efforts, and PR campaigns get launched and what have you. And we're really excited about next year's show. The chance to be together with both our rep and dealer community again in particular. I know for the Canadian contingent, we were disappointed not to be down there this year. It's an opportunity, such a wonderful opportunity to renew the wonderful relationships we have.
Yeah, that's great. And so you just mentioned, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to give us a pitch. Okay. Hookup. Yeah. Hookup. Tell us about Hookup.
So Hookup's a table collection now. I'm proud to say a HIP award-winning.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, table collection. And we're really proud of that, Sid. We had the design brief done late last year, but really kicked off the project in earnest in January. And it's a table collection distinguished by its rail system that allows the product to connect with other tables, with screens, with a variety of accessories. And we really had, what I'll call this new hybrid work environment in mind when we developed the collection. And we think it's perfectly suited for, the kind of the common denominator of return to office.
So Chris, forgive me for not having known the answer to this question that I'm just going to ask you. Is Hookup and all the information about it on your website?
It is, and I'm happy to share with your listeners as well.
Yeah, we will link directly to the 3H website with the Hookup information, so you guys can click on the link and go check out what Chris is talking about. I've seen some images of it on your social media. It looks really, really cool. And congratulations on the HIP award. I know that had to feel really good.
And there's more to come, Sid. We're really excited. We've got some very innovative projects in the works that the market's going to see beginning next year.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it when people bring out new products that are addressing a need. In this case, you were thinking directly about a hybrid work model and what that meant and how you guys could bring a product to market that was of value to that. So I think that's really, really good. But Chris, there's a couple of other things here that are kind of underlining that we've been talking about. And I want to just kind of come out there in the last few minutes that we have together and talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you're seeing in our industry right now, Obviously we know there's supply chain issues. We know there's issues with getting in front of influencers. We know that there's the hybrid work that is causing, it's great opportunity, also great challenge for us as an industry. What are you seeing, or what, in your opinion, are some of the biggest challenges that we're facing right now? And talk to us a little bit about what you think we should be doing as an industry to overcome them.
Well, you described a number of really important issues, and I don't care who you are in the industry, one way or the other. Those challenges are going to affect you. So let me start with supply chain. We're really proud that the vast majority of our materials and components are sourced from within North America. But the truth is, our vendors source from offshore. So no one in the entire industry is completely immune from this. So that's definitely an issue right now. I would say consolidation. The two major manufacturers that came together earlier this year, as much as there's going to be incredible opportunity, it also presents a challenge. And it remains to be seen the effect it's going to have not only on their distribution, but on smaller company distribution as well. So we're very mindful of that. Thankfully, it's also meant that there's some incredible talent available. And, for companies like 3H that are looking to add to their team, it creates the ability to add some people that potentially would have otherwise not been available.
Absolutely. So supply chain struggles are real. Consolidation is real. It's happening.
It is.
We should anticipate it's going to continue. At least in my opinion, it's going to continue, I think. But I think talent availability is really, really important, because there are some very talented people. This started at the beginning of when people started laying people off, in March or April of 2020. There's some amazing talent in our industry. Seasoned that have been around a while, but also younger that maybe haven't been around as long, but all still very talented, that by no circumstance of their own found themselves without work.
Right.
And,
right.
And that creates a great opportunity for people to find and discover new career paths, to maybe venture out and do things differently, or maybe discover a lot of amazing companies inside of our industry. I will connect the dots here for a second. I have referred a colleague of mine that works at a major brand to a smaller manufacturer to go work as a regional. And that deal is coming together, and they are working through, what that looks like. And hopefully it'll be something that they both are able to come together with. But my friend was telling me, as she was going through this journey, she had no idea all these companies existed.
And that's a common story, Sid. That's a common story. And let's face facts. If you work for one of the major manufacturers, the thought of working for a small or mid-sized manufacturer, it's only natural for that person to have concerns.
Sure.
I would say what we have to offer, what 3H has to offer, and I'm sure what other small companies have to offer, is the ability to be a builder, to contribute in a way that you never would with a big company. And, that was certainly my perspective. Back to your very first question in this discussion, the chance to build something, to put your stamp on it, for there to be a legacy. And I know a lot of this sounds cliche, but if you're really passionate about your career and your skill set and want to push yourself, I would argue small manufacturer, mid-sized manufacturer is the perfect place to do it.
I 100% agree with what you said. And I'm going to tell all of the listeners, hit the back button at least once or twice and listen to what Chris said again, because there are some amazing companies in our industry that offer amazing value, that really can open your eyes to what the other side of this industry, especially if you've worked for a major brand for many, many years. But I do think that one of the things that this talent availability has done for us, Chris, is also put people in the position to actually enter the world of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
We talk about our common friend, and who this past week's podcast guest, Michelle Warren, is a perfect example of entering into entrepreneurship. But I also think it creates a great opportunity and Michelle's just one example, but there are needs inside of our industry for people to go and do their own thing, and to be able to step into and embrace the courage, if you will, to become an entrepreneur. One of the areas that I think our industry is the most underserved is with independent reps.
Yes, absolutely. Go back to that notion of our of the aging demographic of our industry. That's an incredible example. And Sid, you asked me a question about what do companies like 3H do to compete with all these forces at work. Take that example you just gave. You've got to be entrepreneurial and try different things, and to do things in a conventional manner right now, particularly when you have limited resources. You're doing your company, and as individuals, we're doing ourselves a disservice.
Yeah.
But that, from my perspective, is exciting. And, the chance to innovate either product or service, the way we conduct our, day-to-day relationships, to me, that's so incredibly energizing.
I absolutely agree with you, Chris. And I think now is an amazing opportunity in our industry for transformation in the way we do things and how we do things, how we go to market. That's why I think the transformation, if you will, of independent reps of coming in and doing things differently. If you come in with a different idea or a new idea, but you have to be able and willing to try it, just to be able to move forward and try it, because this is a fun industry to work in, packed with amazing people, but we're all facing challenges. And though we may face them a little bit differently, it's how I think it's how we respond to them that will really help separate us from the others, if you will. And that is taking, and I've said this before on the podcast many different times, big, bold action. It's time for big, bold action.
And as part of that, frankly, change the way that we work conventionally. So the traditional manufacturer independent rep relationship, there's a sliding scale of commissions, starting at regular discount as you work your way along the scale. And I would say to attract talent into the industry, because it's a scary proposition for a younger, talented person to leave a salaried role for what is at its very core a commission sales position. So it's incumbent upon manufacturers to get creative the way they compensate independent reps. And that's certainly part of our ongoing dialogue as well. The reality is, in this industry, in a given market, there's a handful of independent rep groups that are extremely talented. And then from that point on, you got to get creative about how you attract additional talent to the conversation.
Oh yeah, absolutely, Chris. And I feel like I could get on my soapbox about this, and I think you joined me up there about changes in our industry, new people coming into our industry, courage to do something new, courage to rethink the way we've always done things, as the example that you just shared about the way we've always, as an industry, always paid independent reps. It's time to be different and time to think differently. And it is a scary proposition to leave a safe, comfortable job and go to a 1099 commission only, eat what you kill kind of job. And that is a very scary position. And I think it's one of the things, honestly, that has held so many people back from stepping into becoming an independent rep, because I think it's one of the most important roles in our industry.
I agree. And, as a small manufacturer, there aren't too many options to bring your product to market. And, I would say, as an industry and frankly, as a group, small manufacturers, if we can figure that out, it'll make a huge difference.
Absolutely, Chris. And, one of the things that I enjoy most about the CEO chat series within the podcast is getting to meet people like you, to hear your story, but also to hear your insights about some of the things that our industry needs to be doing, because everybody's perspective is different, but that's okay. It's okay to have different perspectives. But what we need to do as members of the community is listen to the different perspectives and then form our own opinions about what we should be doing in our businesses, or should I take that leap and go do this, right? It's different perspectives. And Chris, it's been such a pleasure to have you on today. I want to give you just a couple of minutes to any final thoughts or anything that you'd like to share with our listeners about you, your story, or 3H, where you guys are headed, anything you'd like to share?
I would say with regards to 3H, I would say very confidently we're a company on the move, Sid. We have a fantastic 5-year plan that we're just at the very beginning of. We have plans to expand our product portfolio. We've spent the last 9 months upgrading our sales force, and that's going to pay huge dividends. So I can say confidently, we're a company that's going to make some noise, and it's going to be my absolute pleasure to be part of that process. We have such a wonderful group of people. And I would say, My final point in this conversation is I'm so grateful. When I left my former employer, I think all of us wonder, my goodness, what is that next stop going to look like? And to be in this position right now, working with the team that I am, I would say things couldn't have turned out better.
Yeah, that's awesome, Chris. Thank you for sharing that. A company on the move. You heard it right here from the CEO to everybody listening. Chris, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to sit back and watch all the success that you guys have and where you're headed. Congratulations on the HIP Award and the new product hookup. Look forward to hopefully having the opportunity to connect with you again soon. So, Chris, if our listeners would like to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to do that?
I think by email would be best, Sid, and I know you're going to share that in the show notes later.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll drop your email address down into the show notes, as well as the link to their website to check out their hookup product and their HIP award, as well as we'll put Chris's LinkedIn profile there. Guys, you know the rules. If you reach out, please be sure that you let Chris know that you heard him here on the Trend Report, and that's why you're connecting with him. Chris, thank you so much again for being here for this installment of the CEO Chat. And again, I look forward to watching all the amazing things you and your team are able to accomplish.
Thank you very much, Sid. Appreciate it.
Take care, everyone.